गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्।
Sai Ram, dear brothers and sisters, my name is Nandini Jhawar and I am from the state of Mahakaleshwar and Omkareshwar Jyotirlinga, Madhya Pradesh, a participant of the Sri Satya Sai National Leadership Program, Batch 2021. Welcome to the Satsangatve Nisangatvam, the 9th in the series. It is indeed my honor to introduce you all to a speaker for this evening. An ardent and blessed devotee of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba for more than 4 decades. He has had countless interaction with Swami, who has joined us all this evening. Let us now experience the divine blessing through his inspiring journey.
Swami is love. Love expresses itself as seva. These highlight spiritual sadhana reflects in Shatakoti hands and hearts as Koti Ishwaras, the Sevadals under his service wing, coordinated by an inherent exemplar, Sri Koteshwar Rao, divinely blessed, a humble servant of the Lord Sai. Born, studied and serving from the holy lands of Andhra Pradesh, which is the Avatar Pradesh, Sri Koteshwar Rao holds a post-graduation in market analysis and strategic management. He is currently an Acharya himself at the Acharya Nagarjuna University in Andhra Pradesh, from where he had post-graduated serving as a professional senior advisor, ANU CDE ICT Division for Online Education since 2019. Striding on over 4 decades of work experience in various industries at senior managerial levels, Sri Koteshwar Rao has been highly recognized and rewarded for his excellence throughout his career span and has also been representing Health for All LLC, Sultanate of Oman in India since 2005. Besides being a senior advisor at the Acharya University, he also is a member of guest faculty in the Department of International Business Teaching Personality Development, Business Communication, Soft Skills, Global Sourcing, Business Development, Export Management and Strategic Management for Universities MBA students since 2007. He is also a consultant at prestigious corporates in Hyderabad. Sri Koteshwar Rao has undertaken tremendous array of training as a Human Resource Trainer, APHRDI, Government of Andhra Pradesh, Department of Police, Andhra Pradesh, and Department of Excise and Custom, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Above all, he is a member and an active Sevadal of Sri Satya Sai Seva Organization, India since 1980. He is the National Coordinator for Sri Satya Sai Village Integrated Program from 2007 and National Seva Coordinator since 2018. He has been involved in various major activities across the country. To mention a few of the very many, like Sri Satya Sai Drinking Water Project, Anantapur District, 1995 to 1998. Also, in World Conference of Sri Satya Sai Seva Organization held in every 5 years from 1985 to 2015. COVID Pandemic Relief Seva Activities, Phase 1 and ongoing Phase 2. This evening, we are immensely blessed to be in the company of this divinely blessed, a humble servant of Lord Sai, Shri S. Koteshwar Rao.
Over to you, sir.
Sairam to all. Thank you very much for this introduction. Offering my humble salutations at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. We are all blessed by him. To be in association with him is a great virtue. It is an inheritance, a legacy. We are all together. With these salutations at the lotus feet of Bhagavan, I am rather thrilled to look at the title of this satsang. Sadhana to reach inherent divinity. Satsangatve Nisangatvam. The entire Indian scriptures, entire Indian culture and ethos has been crystallized by Adi Shankara with this small Satsangatve Nisangatvam. Nisangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. This is a great revelation that any individual, every human endeavor should be directed towards the final, the ultimate goal of life, that is Jivan Mukti. This Jivan Mukti is possible in a process, in a maturity process. The first being the company of good, Satsangatve, which definitely brings about non-attachment. I don't say detachment, non-attachment. Through this non-attachment, there arises freedom from delusion. And this freedom from delusion gives about steadfastness, consistency. Through this steadfastness, there arises the final, the liberation in life. What kind of liberation? The liberation, as the Bhajagovindam sloka enunciates, this has its roots from Vishnu Purana. The Vishnu Purana, which has a great Vishnu Purana says, Tat karma yatra bandhai, sa vidya ya vimuktaye. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye. This is the real essence of learning. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye is the essence of learning of any kind of knowledge. The ultimate is the knowledge which liberates one from every kind of bondages that we get into. That is going to be the ultimate of all the vidya that the human endeavor can learn. How this can be synchronized. There are many schools of thoughts, many ideals. Finally, the Rigveda says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. The truth is one only. Truth is constant. Truth is consistent with the times. It doesn't change. It is unchanged. The wise perceive it differently. The perceptions may differ. The margas, the roads may be different. The roads may be different that lead to the ultimate, that is the ultimate truth of life. Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahudha Vadanti. The divinity is all pervasive. A divinity is replicated in every object. The indweller of everyone is Parabrahma, the Nirakara, Nirguna, Parabrahma. The formless and the attributeless, the ultimate of divinity, who has no form, no attribute, and all powerful Parabrahma is the indweller of everyone, everything. Pipilika Brahma Paryantam Vyapya Narayana Sthita Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. This is what the ancient scriptures teach us. The topic assigned to me is Seva as a sadhana to reach the inherent divinity. Divinity is all pervasive. It is in you, around you, above you, below you, everywhere. The divinity is all pervasive and it is replicated in every aspect. The indweller of everyone is that Parabrahma, and this is prescribed in the Mahavakyas, which gives us a great insight in the knowledge area. The Prajnanam Brahma, the insight is Brahman, and Brahman is the insight which comes out of the Rig Veda. Ayamatma Brahma Tattvam Asi, and Aham Brahmasmi. This is the essence of human endeavor. We need not really go deeper into the scriptures or Vedas or Upanishads or Puranas. Realizing this eternal truth that Aham Brahma Asmi, Ayamatma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma, Tattvam Asi. This itself will crystallize the whole essence of human endeavor, that it is inside me. But how do we reach the knowledge and the real self? Between these two is their Maya, the shield. Unless we break that Maya, we will not be able to realize the Parabrahman inside. He is not anywhere else. Devudanaga Desham Munaledu. Swami says in a beautiful Telugu poem. Devudanaga Desham Munaledu. Tarachi Chuguda Tanayende Kala. God doesn't exist anywhere else in the outside world. If you can really touch your heart and go deeper inside, Devudanaga Desham Munaledu. Tarachi Chuguda Tanayende Kala. He is there in every being. He is there. That is the essence of human learning that can be encompassed. This is one area. When we think about the Mahavakyas, how Swami has simplified that, the complexity of the knowledge, with a basic question that who am I? Koham. Swami gave this everything, that realize yourself. You are somebody or you are nobody. But who exactly you are, if you try to probe in yourself, you will come to understand that Koham, the answer given by Bhagavan is Soham. Koham, Soham. Who is that Koham? Who am I? Soham, I am that. I and my Father are one. Jesus said, I and my Father are one. Koham, Soham. Swami is to enunciate this. Deho Devalaya Prokto, Jivo Deva Sanatana. The human body itself is the holy temple. The Jivo Deva Sanatana, Jiva Deva Sanatana. The indweller, the life itself is the most ancient Sanatana Deva. Tyajet Ajnana Nirmal. You discard the ignorance. So aham bhavena pujayet. Sayeva aham bhavena pujayet. I am none but a replicate of the divinity, the Parabrahma. This should be the understanding of every intellectual, and the pursuit of spiritual sadhana should be in this direction to realize that indweller in everyone is the same, the only one, the ultimate. Since the time immemorial, human endeavor has been to realize this truth, recognize this fact, and adopt these four Mahavakyas and lead life to achieve the bliss, that ultimate bliss. Ultimate bliss is possible through Satsangatve Nissangatvam, Nissangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nischalatatvam, Nischalatatve Jivan Mukti. This is the life doctrine given. Having envisioned this complexity of modern life and its influence on the society, Bhagavan reorganized the Vedic pathways for Jivan Mukti into contemporary, practical ways and means. Bhagavan is not complex. Bhagavan is a very simple. He summed up the great works of sage Veda Vyasa. Ashtadasya Puraneshu Vyasena Proktam Vakyam Dvayam Paropakara Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam. Swami has given a very beautiful essence of all the Puranas. Help ever, hurt never. Paropakara Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam. And how this particular, the concept of help ever or hurt never can be achieved. How can we not hurt anyone, anytime, anywhere? What is hurting? Hurting can be manasa, hurting can be vacha, hurting can be karmana. Even by thought, even by your word, even by your action, if you are thinking something different from the sanity, something against a person or an individual or some concept, that itself is hurting. So hurt never means it is not just physical action oriented hurt. It can be even by words. It can be even by your thought. You have to practice this hurt never. We hurt others when we are enveloped by the Arishad Vargas or the six evils, kama. When we are enveloped by the lust, craze or desire, the desire complex is something phenomenal. It begins with a small seed of some desire and it goes beyond. The desires have an unlimited scale. This desire ultimately attribute as kama. Then krodha, anger, hatred, which leads to lobha. This is one attribute which is greed, miserliness, narrow-mindedness, and such other attributes that reflect lobha. Then moha, delusory attachment. We get into attachment with everything. I cannot even discard my pen. This kind of an attachment is there. This attachment is moha. And mada, this is the pride, stubborn-mindedness, ego, and these are 6 evil thoughts, which includes finally as matsarya. That is jealousy, being envious, being showful, or vanity, and that finally leads to a complexity of ego. These are the 6 enemies that make us think or talk or act hurting others. What are the remedial practice for this? Can we have a remedial practice for this? Do you want to continue in the same mindset of Arishad Vargas? Don't we like to come out of this vicious cycle and try to lead a life which is beautiful? And what's the remedial practice? What's the remedial practice is the most ancient, the scriptures, the epics, the Ramayana says that Anushamsyam, Anukroshaha, Shrutam, Seelam, Damam, Shamam, Raghavam Shobhayanti Ete Shadgunaha Purushottamam. Rama is described as the one who encompasses 6 virtues. Anushamsyam, he never gets anger. That ultimately leads to non-violence. Anukroshaha is an embodiment of compassion. That automatically removes jealousy. When he has a compassion, it definitely and certainly removes the jealousy. He has the quality of Shrutam. He is a continuous learner. That learning is getting the true knowledge. That true knowledge which liberates, which removes the shrouded delusion. It removes moha. And Sheelam, that is the attitude which is humility, which removes mada, arrogance. And he has the attribute of Dhamma, that is self-control. That self-control brings about a curtain or a kind of blockade for the lust, kama. And with the Shema, that is a tranquility, Bhagavan recommends that one should have the 6th attribute of Rama as a tranquility, peace, and satiation to remove the lobha, greed. This is the way of practicing all the 6 attributes that were recommended in Ramayana. That will annihilate all the 6 bad qualities. The 6 attributes personified in Rama can conquer the 6 enemies. And these 6 attributes have the root in the one powerful attribute called love. Love generates all the positive attributes. Absence of love generates all the negative attributes. So that's why only when we become Prema Swarupas, the embodiments of love, we will be able to practice these 6 virtues or any other virtue that will be taking us away from the negative qualities. It is only love that can remove the layers of Shadripu from human life. That's why Swami has given the doctrine, the principle of love all, and always used to address all of us as Prema Swarupas. When we try to handle hurt never by love all, how do we handle this particular Swami's principle that help ever? Hurt never has been handled by love all. Help ever. How can we help others forever? Help anywhere, anyhow, everywhere, everyhow, anyone, irrespective of the caste, color, creed, community. How is it possible to help ever? Sage Narada has gifted the mankind with 9 pathways to reach the Parabrahma. Our endeavor is to reach the Parabrahman inside, the divinity inside. Now, how best we can reach the Parabrahman inside is, Sage Narada has tried to give us 9 pathways. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Namasmaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. These are the 9 pathways recommended by Narada. Swami, in all through this camp of mission, has adopted and recommended all these 9 bhakti margas to his devotees. We have been gifted by Bhagavan the most powerful of these 9 bhakti margas, the simplest bhakti marga, which calls for only Dasya Bhakti. Considering the Lord as my own father, mother, and everything to us. We consider himself as his son, daughter, servant, everything. What all we do to make Swami happy, anything possible, everything possible. Once Swami was angry with children, pretended to be angry. Swami was never angry with children, pretended to be angry. Students are every day praying to Swami, 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 Swami. Swami was not looking at them. Swami was not trying to speak to them. The students got, were really worried, then became morose, then became dejected. They were crying, and elders also tried to point out, probably they have done some mistakes, they have done something which is not liked by Swami, so Swami is not talking. On one particular day, Swami came in darshan, and students together, please Swami, please Swami, please Swami, please Swami. Then Swami stopped, looking at every one of them. Yes, that's what is required. What is that? Please Swami. You have to please Swami. What if I think this way, whether Swami is pleased or not? If I talk this way, whether Swami is pleased or not? If I act this way, if Swami is pleased as or not? If this question, if we continue to ask ourselves, we will be remodeling our mindset. We will be re-engineering our own attitudes. How to please Swami? If this is the question continuously, if we ask ourselves, we'll be able to do a great reformation or transformation in ourselves. What makes Swami happy? This is the question. If we follow dharma, that is the first step to make Swami happy. In this kind of bhakti, we consider ourselves as servant with servitude. There is a sarvasya sharanagati. There is no other way. I know nothing. I think I know everything. That is a great maya. From that great maya, we remove all those layers of maya and try to fall at the feet of Bhagavan and say that, Swami, I don't know anything. I know nothing. I am surrendering myself. This is the first step one has to do. This kind of an activity brings us closer to God. By this kind of a sarvasya sharanagati, we can really reach the indweller, God, residing inside us, which itself is leading to moksha. The perfect example of this Dasya Bhakti is Lord Hanuman himself. Swami used to always guide the mankind. Jana seva bina sukha shanti nahi. Service to mankind is the service to divinity. We channelize human thought process to this ultimate pathway to reach the inherent divinity. Swami has given this principle: serve all. Serve all. Hurt never can be achieved by love all. Help ever can be achieved by serve all. These are the four cardinal principles Bhagavan has given to the mankind. Love all, serve all. Help ever, hurt never. That is the way to God. The four Mahavakyas can be modern in the modern contemporary world for all of us, can be reorganized in such a way that love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. We need not really refer to any complex textual knowledge. This is the practical knowledge given by Bhagavan. They are the practical four Mahavakyas that can refine the life and alter the personality of every individual, transforming us into a role model personality. Sevahi paramo dharma. For Swami, it is Sevahi paramo dharma. Seva is the ultimate mantra for moksha sadhana. Bhagavan has been a leader by example. A leader, you're all in the National Leadership Program. Try to be leaders by example. He is an inspirational leader. There may be many leadership styles recommended, prescribed by the experts in management, experts in social sciences. But he is a unique, inspirational leader who led the mankind by example. About 5,000 years ago, Lord Sri Krishna, yad yad acharati shrestha, tatta devotaro jana, sayat pramanam kurute lokaha, tad ananvartati. Whatever leader does, the entire mankind follows. This is the way a leader must be generated, must be indoctrinated, must be developed, must be matured. He led a life that can be emulated by everyone. That's why Swami boldly declared, my life is my message. Very courageous. Swami is very courageous. And he declared in such a way that my life is my message. And he expected that make your life as my message. In the simplest terms, Swami very simply said, make your life as my message. So his expectations are that we should emulate Swami. We should really learn from Swami's actions, learn from Swami's thought process, learn from Swami's way of living, leading life. This calls for an attitudinal re-engineering of every individual. We are great re-engineers, but we have to re-engineer our attitudes. This is the sadhana. This is the journey inwards. Re-engineer your attitude in order to become good leaders. That is the way Swami was teaching us. Swami has been teaching us. These four Mahavakyas gifted by Swami, love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never. If we adopt to our life, if we adopt to our way of life, and lead the way of life within the periphery of these four, within the framework of these four Mahavakyas, they can trigger the positive change in the physical, psychological, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual dimensions of human personality. Integrating a great virtues and the knowledge, essential knowledge, with the skill, with values, and apply that in the society, into the human life, individual life, family life, societal life, and national life for entire good of mankind. He who cannot be a good follower cannot be a good leader. The modern scientists like Aristotle said this. He who cannot be a good follower cannot be a good leader. And leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Lead me, O Lord, where the mind is without fear. This is the kind of world that is envisioned by the noblest of the persons. So that kind of an exercise has to be practiced by every young man and young woman, whereby they transform themselves into good leaders who can lead the world. The modern scientists also, they are not no different from the ancient. The leadership is lifting a person's vision to high spirits, high sights, raising of a person's performance to a higher standard, the building of a personality beyond its normal limitations. We can be anything what we decide. You can be anything what you decide, provided you alter your attitude, alter your behavior, alter your character, remodel it. This is what exactly is the Swami's expectation. The four Mahavakyas empower the individual to reach beyond human limitations. This is what exactly Swami's doctrine says. We think we are great, we are big, we have more knowledge. But Swami used to recommend to all the youngsters and also everyone for that matter to do a self-audit. How frequently we do it, self-audit, I'm not very sure. Because we get into a monotonous life, a monotonous style, and a mechanical thinking, a mechanical way of life, wherein we seldom do that kind of an introspection or self-audit. The self-audit may be a strength, weakness, opportunity, and the challenges analysis, maybe a SWOT analysis. Ask yourself a question. Who am I? The answer that who am I, if we analytically probe deeper into this, probably we will arrive at what exactly is inside me and who exactly is residing in me and who exactly I am. Then what are my attributes? Am I lovable? Am I lovable? Are my A, B, C, attitude, behavior, character, acceptable to many, adorable by many, admirable by many? This is what is my attitude correct? Is my behavior appropriate? Is my character appropriate? This kind of a the analysis, self-introspective audit helps us to re-establish where I am today, what is my goal, and what's the gap. And this kind of a gap analysis, if only we can do, then the spiritual sadhana can certainly trigger much more intense activity, which can embellish our life with the concept of seva. Seva is a sadhana, undoubtedly. Seva is a sadhana. Swami has shown the way. He has shown the way in such a way that whatever he preached the mankind, he has practiced it and then performed. He has shown the exemplary leadership qualities, which would unfold the real nature and real attributes of a person who can really become a good leader. A good leader, as far as the most ancient knowledge is concerned, he should be a drudha chitta. He should be a drudha chitta, a power of concentration, focus, and determination. Swami has given the 5 Ds. He should be a Silavan, ideal character with values, ethics, and morals. He should be a Prajna, thinking capability, competence, confidence, etc. He should be a Vangmi, an expert, or try to become an expert in communication skills with articulation ability. He should be a Daksha. Daksha means observant, vigilant, on core competence. He should be a Jnani, will have a holistic knowledge. And a skillful Nipuna, he should be a skillful. And he should be a Drashta, a visionary about human life, human society. And he should be able to re-engineer the societal requirements in such a way that, yes, at any point of time, whatever society requires, I am ready to give it. And ultimately, he should be a sthita prajna, a stoic, unmoved by any praise or condemnation. The praise and condemnation shall not shake him up. And he should be an abhayadana, a fearless and reassuring to the people following him. And he should be avyaya, inexhaustible, undiminishing, unchangeable. This kind of a personality is a leader. And finally, Atmaiva Anusandhana. He is the one who is self-realized with a positivity always. That kind of a positivity always will have an insights to the self-concept. Who I am. What kind of a person I am. This is the way it is. And before we go in about learning as to what kind of an inward journey we have to make, we have to check ourselves with a simple test that, am I correct? How is my buddhi? How is my chitta? How is my ahankar? It's easy to show, it is easy to open up the index finger at others. And remember, there are 3. Your buddhi, your chitta, your ahankar. Your body, your intellect, and your mind. Your thought, your word, and your action. Once we correct this, then only we are going to be in a position to open up the index finger. This is the expectation of Swami. Swami never expected Laksha Puja. Never. He never expected a Laksha Puja or Sahasra Puja, any kind of. He always expected a Lakshya Puja. Have a goal in mind. That goal must be your Pattina Pattedu Pattane Pattiti. Swami used to say, Pattina Pattedu Pattane Pattiti. Pattu Neggudaga Viduvaku. Whatever you have decided to achieve in life, whatever you have taken as a goal in life to be accomplished, Pattu Neggudaka Viduvakundu. Don't leave it halfway, midway. Try to accomplish that with all your might, intellectual might, spiritual might, every kind of power that you have to achieve whatever you have decided. This is the kind of expectation Swami has. And he is not an ordinary teacher. Swami is not an ordinary teacher. To realize the indweller, Swami acts like a physical director or a drill master who does it himself and teach others. Acharanat Bhaved Acharya. He is the real Acharya because he practiced everything, and then try to tell others. More we turn inside, more we turn inwards, more we realize this, and there lies the divinity inside us and inside everyone around us in the society. And Seva in many forms shall empower you with the essential knowledge about the very fact that you are serving yourself and not others. You are serving, if you are serving physically others means you are serving the indweller who is akin to the indweller in you. Seva thus speaks of all the layers of ahankara, that is ego, pride, and such other evils. That is what exactly Swami expects us to perform seva without ego. Perform seva with love. Perform seva without any kind of ahankara, any kind of expectation. Thus, seva shows us the path divine and it embellishes your life with the bliss, Sat, Chit, Ananda, better than any other spiritual practice. The seva will give you the ultimate of Ananda, which is better than any other spiritual practice. That's why na karmana, na prajaya, dhanena, chyagenaike, amrutattvamanas. Not by any other kind of things. You have to encompass the spiritual path in such a way that you will be sacrificed. The sacrifice, the tyaga, has an unlimited scope. Remember, only a sevak can become a nayak. Only a sevak can become a nayak. Kinkaro bhavet shankaraha. None else. If you want to become a Shankara, you have to begin your career with by being a Kinkara. If you want to become a Nayak, you have to become first a Sevak. Then only make you be able to accomplish whatever you have been desiring or whatever you have been expecting or setting in life as a goal. Make the beginning with small experiences of seva. Don't have lofty goals. Don't have anything that is really calls for a capital involvement. Swami said, Swami has given in the earliest part of his mission, sealing on desires. Sealing on desires. When it is enough to have a normal shoe, why we need to go for a shoe of 1,500 10,000 rupees also. When it is enough to have a small watch of 500 or 500 rupees, why to go in for a Rado or something of that sort, about 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 rupees? A 500 rupees pair of clothes are enough. In one interview, Swami asked, there are girls I am sure in this group also. Swami asked a group of women who have been gifted by an interview with Swami. Swami asked, how many saris you require? How many saris you require? Everyone tried to recollect the wardrobe. And then someone said, Swami, I have about 50 saris. Some, Swami, I have about 40 saris, 30 saris, 20 saris, 100 saris also. And Swami prompted them. I know one woman who has a sari for every day. That is 365 days. Do you really require those many saris? If you are a working woman, you may be requiring half a dozen saris for work and half a dozen saris to be at home. Why all others? Maybe you are wearing that sari once in 3 months or once in 4 months or once in a year also. Do you need to spend thousands of rupees on that dress? With 1,000 rupees, you know what is the lunch cost in our canteen? 6 rupees. When the interview was given, it was only 6 rupees. With 1,000 rupees, how many poor people can be fed? Swami left at this stage. Sealing on desires. Sealing on desires is a very powerful tool for seva. The way Swami has given this powerful tool, my goodness. Today, in the second wave of the pandemic, Sri Satya Sai Seva organization has performed a seva which is more than 20 crores of rupees. For seva, the scope and spectrum of seva is unlimited, ever expanding. If only you decide that I should become a sevak, if you decide that I should become a nayak, there is no chance, no seva. If you decide that I should become a sevak to begin with, you have two scopes, lot of seva opportunity and opportunity to become a nayak also. For that only Swami has given this wonderful tool called sealing on desires. No lofty, no great schemes. A simple hunger alleviation. When you are walking on a street in hot summer, you are having a water bottle with you, maybe a hat and an umbrella also. You find an old man falling on the street side. He is thirsty. With all the compassion, you open your bottle of water and pour into his mouth. And he makes a gulp of water. And the moment he opens up his eyes and sees, looks at you, the first word that comes through him is, you saved my life like God. So God is nowhere. The divinity is nowhere. The divinity is your own sankalpa. The divinity is inside you in the form of the compassion, kindness, in the form of love. When you think of divinity, think of your own conscience. Am I helpful to others? Am I helping my own father, my own mother, my own sister, my own brothers? Start seva at home. Learn seva at home. When you start learning seva at home, Uddharet Atmanatmana. You need not cleanse entire world. Start cleansing yourself. This is the way one has to really cleanse up, remove all that dirt around us, and try to go deeper inside ourselves, whereby we will realize that the God, the ultimate, is living within us. And various methods, various openings are given by Sri Satya Sai Seva organization for everyone to perform seva. The model is many sevaks can do many wonderful things. Lot of innovation, room for creativity, room for innovation. The chance for the modern science can be incorporated into the seva methodology. Contemporary requirements can be understood and ingrained into the seva methodology. Maximizing seva with minimizing the resources can be incorporated in the seva methodology. But at the same time, never forget that the seva is to transform ourselves, but not to transform the world. By trying to transform yourself in the form of seva, you will be attaining the greatest bliss. That bliss is moksha sadhana. You will experience the pleasure to begin, joy later, happiness then, and ultimately the bliss. And you will experience what is that soham. And you will experience the greatest communion with the divinity, and communion with the divinity lying inside. And you will turn out to be a lovable personality. Be loved by all. Once you aim at being loved by all, automatically your journey inwards will have its first step. Automatically, you will be removing one layer by other layer and try to realize that you and everyone else are akin to each other. And my role is to perform seva to the best extent possible with all my competence. It need not be money. Even a simple, sweet, lovable word also can be a great seva, a moral encouragement. The pandemic innovations, one of the pandemic innovations is helpline. A telephonic helpline reassuring the COVID isolated patients that Mahuna, I am there for you, we are there for you. Sri Satya Sai, I am there for you means who is there? It is Satya Sai who is there for you. Whatever you want, we are there for you. You are hungry, the food is there. You want medicine, medicines are there. You want something else, it is given. So this kind of a reassurance is coming out of your own inner self. Only God can say these words. If you try to realize this, that the indweller is the God himself, automatically the outer exterior will also change. When you look into the interior of yourselves and try to embellish the interior with love and compassion and kindness, automatically your words are sweet, your thoughts are sweet, and your actions are lovable by every individual. Your attitude, your behavior, and your character will be showcased to the world. I pray to Bhagavan to shower his choicest blessings on every participant in this national leadership program. And I thank, in addition to the organizers, every listeners for having shown the patience to listen to me. Thank you all. Jai Sai Ram.
Saram sir, thank you so much for the insights which you provided. Service to mankind is service to God. That is the main gist of the talk, I would say, for me. And I would open this platform for the participants to ask the question from the sir. And I would request whosoever is having the question, please raise your hand. We would be calling your name and then you can ask your question. Okay. Saram Satyam from UP, please go ahead.
Sairam Bhaiya.
Sairam.
Sairam uncle. This side Satyam Kumar from Uttar Pradesh. I offer my humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved master. Sir, my question is.
Can you spotlight?
Yes, sir.
Satyam, can you please be on the camera also?
Yes, sir.
Can you spotlight him?
Sir, actually, I'm on the way. Sorry.
I think he's traveling, sir. I think that is the reason. I think he's not on camera.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Yes,
No,
sir.
go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
My question is, how to check our mind, our buddhi, at the times where we need to check, but due to some circumstances, we are unable to implement it. How to practice that, sir?
Swami has given a beautiful answer. Everyone is a student to Swami. Na? The children ask Swami, I am not able to concentrate and focus on my mind is thinking on many directions and all. So whenever the Swami's answer is, whenever you are getting a diversion in your mind, whenever you are not able to focus, think of me. Chant my name. Think of me and chant my name. Stop everything and chant his name. Think of him. That is the only solution, because ekagrata and unison thinking is one of the rarest things that can happen. Only by sadhana that can be achieved. So no other way than you have to realign yourself, realign your thoughts, realign your mind towards Bhagavan and refocus yourself. Okay? Sachin?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir Satyam. Thank you so much, sir.
Satyam. Sairam.
Sairam uncle.
Thank you, sir. The next one is Krishna Chaitanya Panangapalli. Please unmute yourself, or if you would be able to on the camera, please be on the camera. Sairam.
Sairam sir, my humble pranams to the lotus feet of my beloved Bhagavan. Sir, my doubt is, sir, recently Satyasai organizations is entering into all domains of service, like telemedicine service, all emergency services related to COVID-19 pandemic, and our institutes are getting recognized internationally, and recently Niti Aayog has recognized our super specialty hospital. Sir, as a leader, as a prominent leader of Satyasai Sevadal, how do you manage your when we achieve some milestone, we'll get some ahankara, no sir? How do you manage that ahankara, and how do you keep yourself to work more and to manage this, sir?
Krishna Chaitanya.
Sir.
Very simple. It's very simple. If you just think that it is not me, it is Swami's grace. Whether it is United Nations organization recognized Sri Satyasai Center Trust, or UNICEF giving an opportunity for Sri Satyasai Seva organization, or whether it is Niti Aayog, or whether it is Andhra Pradesh state government today, it is all his will. Swami's way of doing is, if I am not here, he can get it done by an ant, a small ant. He doesn't need any. If you recollect Ramayana, There was a small fable in the Ramayana, that Kakasuravata. Lord Rama and along with Sita, they were in the forest in Vanavas. Sita was sleeping on the thigh in the lap of Rama. Deliberately, this Kakasura came in the form of a crow and trying to poke the feet of Mother Sita. And Rama wanted to drive away that Kakasura. And, he silently ushered it, but he did not leave. Then he tried to catch hold of his bow and arrow, and they are little far. More he moves, Sita would be awake, and he cannot. He doesn't like it. And what he did was, he took out a blade of grass, a small blade of grass, and threw at Kakas. If the divinity thinks that, if divinity decides that any monumental work also can be done by a small blade of grass, what are we and I? If this truth, if everybody realizes that I am nothing, I am willing to be nothing, then only we will not get any ahankara. So let us try to restrict our ahankara to only this level, that we are not achieving anything by ourselves. Ours is only 10%, that being with us. Swami used to say, I don't want your capability. I do not want your capability, but I want your only availability. If you are available, that's enough. I can do anything through you. If you think you are capable, I don't want you. Because there are many more capable people willing to come. Okay, Krishna Chaitanya?
Okay, sir. Sir, because of you, I am into organization right now, sir. When I was serving some basic service in Puttaparthi, and you called me and asked whether I was part of Satya Sai organizations at that time in 2018. Actually, I was not part of Satya Sai organization at that time, sir. Then you asked me and you motivated me, and you helped me to join this organization, and my life has changed a lot, sir, and that has great impact in my life. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
I am indebted to you. Thank you very much. Jai Sai.
Jai Sai Ram, sir.
Next.
Thank you, sir. Next is the Sudarshan from the Maharashtra. Please unmute yourself and be on the camera if you can, please.
Sairam, sir.
Sairam Sudarshan. Sairam.
Thank you so much for the wonderful guidance. It was quite enriching. My only question is, sir, that these days, no matter what seva we do, and the moment we are, getting out that scarf badge and putting it to Swami, somehow there's a lot of ego developed that we have done something, that some seva has happened and that I have done. So, and no matter how much I want to progress with that seva, ultimately at the end of the day, I feel like, oh my God, I'm sleeping with the ego and not a feeling of seva. How do I deal with it, sir?
Yeah, you have to really deal with it. Okay. This kind of an ego will lead to a spiritual ahankara. It is one of the Ashtamadas. One of the Ashtamadas is the spiritual arrogance. I am the best sevak. I am the best sadhak. I am the one of the greatest sevak. This kind of an ahankara is detrimental to our own spiritual progress. Our spiritual progress comes to a grinding halt once we entertain this sense of accomplishment or achievement goes to our head. So to protect ourselves, we have to nip it in the bud. We have to remove it, eliminate it. Whenever you perform a seva, the simplest method which I can recommend is, whenever you perform a good seva, really good seva, you should be feeling proud of it, no doubt. You go to Swami and touch his feet. Swami, by your grace, we could achieve this kind of a seva. Kindly give us better seva, better seva, better seva. Then Swami will ward off all this kind of ego, and then he will in fact he will be elevating you to a next level spiritually, because you have surrendered Sarvametat samarpayami Sai Charanau. Sarvametat samarpayami Sai Charanau. What all I have done this, I am offering at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. That means it is not yours. Okay, Sudarshan?
Yeah, Uncle, I'll try that. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.
Sai.
Thank you, sir. And the next one is from the Mumbai Metro. Archana, please. Sai Archana, sister.
Sairam uncle.
Sai Ram,
My
Archana.
hello, Sairam uncle. Can you hear me?
Sai Ram, Archana.
Uncle, my question is how to practice selfless love? Because sometimes we expect something from others. So how to practice this?
A pretty difficult question you asked. Love itself is selfless. Love has no other attribute than being selfless. So we have to have a clear-cut demarcation between love with desire, love with Arshad Vargas, love with Moha, love with any Kama, love with any other attribute. Love in its wholeness has no selfishness. Love is universal. For Swami, there is no close or far. His love is universal. He has the same and similar or love for anyone, irrespective of his nationality or irrespective of his lineage or his richness or poverty or anything. It doesn't move him. So we have to, our sadhana itself is ultimately to achieve that kind of a renunciation, and it should be selfless love. Only by continuous sadhana that, yes, love will have no selfish motives. If it is having a selfish motive, it is not love, it is lust. Okay? You redefine love.
Okay, uncle. Got your point.
Right.
Thank you, Uncle Sairam.
Right.
Thank you so much. The next one is the Ronak Mystery from the Gujarat. Please ask your question and try to be on the camera. Sairam.
Sairam.
Sairam,
Thank you so much for this wonderful insight on service to God. I had a question. I just heard in the introduction of yours that you have been serving as a Sri Satya Sai Village Integrated Program Coordinator. So I had a question on that. Whenever we approach a new village or whenever we approach a village where we have not in nearby days. So what could be the activity that first we can do so that we can touch on their exact requirement? And
this is, you have to become mamekam with the village, right?
Yes.
Not superficial.
Yes.
Unless you live with them, you don't know what they require. If you ask them, they will come out with several list of needs that they have. So what we have been, it is not we have been, it is Bhagavan's direction is that in 2007, Swami gave a clear direct direction about this village integrated program that you have to go deeper into the village, touch upon every family and try to identify what exactly is their requirement, their need. And their need, you have to need all the needs. You have to understand and eliminate some. Some may be emotional needs, some may be physical needs, some may be spiritual needs, some may be material needs, some may be educational needs, some may be economic needs, which call for a support system. So every kind of need, once you have your sane mind, logic, attempted it, at it, you will be able to know what are the needs that can be satisfied by us and what are the needs we have to make them realize by inclusive management of the work. See, you should not be going on charity, giving everything what they want. You should make them empower, get them trained for self-sufficiency. So how long you are going to give the support system to a village? You have to train them up, to become self-sufficient. This self-sufficiency is very important in the looks of Bhagavan. To entire objective of village integrated program is to empower the village and the villagers to become self-sufficient. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Sai Ram.
Okay, sir. So next one is the top 10 from the West Bengal. Kindly be on the camera, please, if you can.
Sairam sir.
Top 10, Sairam.
Yeah. So my question is like in our spiritual journey, like is it so that we have to face challenges?
Come again. Come again.
I mean to say like is it so like in our spiritual journey we have to face challenges?
Life itself is a challenge. Living itself is a challenge. कल का कुछ भरोसा है?
No, sir.
Right? Yesterday was a history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Yesterday was a history and tomorrow is a mystery. And in between, what is there for you in your hand is today. So make today embellished with your love, compassion, kindness, and all the values prescribed and recommended by Bhagavan. Automatically, you will be rewriting your tomorrow. And every today becomes a history tomorrow. So when you are making your today as a historic day, automatically your history becomes embellished with noble things. So it is a challenge. And you are not a cover to run away from challenges. You are a bundle of energy, strength, courage, and boldness. So every challenge you have to face and fight it. Okay? Never shy away.
Sir.
Sairam.
Sairam, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, top 10. So next one is the sister from the Karnataka, Shweta. Please unmute and be on the camera, please.
Sairam uncle.
Sairam, Shweta.
This is Shweta from Karnataka.
Sairam.
Uncle, I want to hear from you any of your experience that gave a message from Swami to all of us.
A lot of experiences, many experiences which I too have an ego. Do you think that I am a sage or a saint? No. I too had ego and I too had a lot of attributes that gradually I removed. My first experience itself is a beautiful experience. I was posted on the Hanuman top when I came first time to the Prashantindraya. Then Hanuman was not there. It was only a hill. And my seva was, I was given a lati, a lakdi diye the. And I was asked to take a torchlight. I was asked to take an umbrella and go on top of that hillock where presently Hanuman stands. And my seva was to ward off the buffaloes, ward off the forest pigs, ward off goats and bakri. I felt insulted. I am an educated fellow working for a corporate company then, and I always wear a tie and suit. And now, like a gawar, I have been sent on to the top of the hill to this seva. What sort of a seva this is? I think this is the last step, because I gave my word to my wife. I said, okay, let me complete this seva. And this is the last time that I would come again to Puttaparthi. and Prashantilayam. My ego was hurt. I felt really insulted. So I went there, and my seva schedule is such that I cannot have darshan of Bhagavan also. So I cannot have darshan of Bhagavan. I cannot have anything. If I have to have a cup of tea, I have to climb down the hill and take a cup of tea in near Gokulam. If you have seen Gokulam and that places, if you are oriented with the Puttaparthi, there was a masjid near Gokulam, and a tea stall fellow in a kettle, he boils tea and keeps it there. That stinks. It doesn't taste like a tea. Anyway, that cup of tea, drink that cup of tea and go again walking like a mountaineer up the hill. By the time we reach up the hill, again it is exhausting. So I decided not to go for tea also. So cursing myself, cursing everybody, cursing even Bhagavan, I was staying there. What is this Bhagavan? What is this Baba? This is not fair on your part. I am not getting even darshan also. I have come for the first time for seva, and this is the way that you treat me. I thought I would be placed, positioned in Prashantilayam in a very vantage point where I can get due recognition and all. So we all crave for recognition. We all crave for recognition from my immediate boss, the next super boss, and super boss is Bhagavan. I didn't have a chance to even have a darshan from far off place. So I was counting days, counting hours, counting minutes, nothing to do. And my companions are buffaloes, goats, and dogs, and forest pigs. So one day, 2 days, third day. And the third day, around 11 o'clock, I was lost. I was totally lost. When I was looking at the stadium and the landscape from the top of the hill, suddenly I found some red-colored car rolling inside the ground. It was rolling inside the ground, and I thought, what is this? Somebody is coming here. Then slowly that car came to a halt, and it was a very big car, very big car. So I thought a rich fellow, rich devotee has come. From the back door was opened, and a white suit guy stepped out and raised his hand and called me. I did not care for that. He called, all right, if I come down walking the hill, again I have to come up. That again is going to be an exhaustive exercise for me, and it is not worth it. Then I just ignored his waving the hand and looking here and there, but focused on the car. Then after 3 or 4 times waving his hand, suddenly front door opened, and this orange robe came out. Swami stepped out. Swami stepped out, and he raised his hand and just waved at me like this. I don't know whether I have walked down, I ran down, or rolled down. Maybe in few seconds, or not even, I don't know, in the Kshanakal, I was there. You could not have darshan. Na? I came here to give darshan to you. This was what Swami said. This is the first and the best experience that I had. Okay?
Wonderful, Uncle. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this. And I would call up from the Karnataka, Suhan Shetty, please be on the camera if you can and ask your question.
Sairam sir, I had a very strong question, but now with your experience, is really nice that I'm kind of melted. So my question is pretty simple. Sairam sir, we go to a couple of Narayan Seva during the pandemic, right? And we used to serve these a lot of people who are on the roads. And sometimes most of these guys, I mean, majority of them are drunkards and people who don't have family. I don't know for what reason they drink, but there are the majority drunkards, right? And when we serve them and when we come back, we have this question back in our head that because I see them every day, we go back, they're still there, they're still drinking at times. We just have no control over them, right? But we can't stop giving them the food as well. So that's a kind of dilemma. It still stays back with us. So how do you look at this? And I want your guidance to probably answer ourselves better here. Sairam, thank you for the opportunity.
I understand your predicament, Suhan. This is the experience of even mine also. Whether we are doing the rightful seva or not, this is the question and the dilemma. Let us not classify the seva. Let us not qualify the people who are recipients of seva. The seva from our end is without any motives, without any expectation. The one who has come for receiving the seva, be it a food packet, be it a food or be it a medicine, he is in need. Whether he is a drunkard or not, that is immaterial. Abhyagata Swayam Vishnu. Abhyagataha Swayam Vishnu. The one who has come to you seeking some help is none but Narayana Swarupa. This is what Swami said. Abhyagata Swayam Vishnu. So without qualifying them, continue to do seva. Your seva will finally elevate them, refresh them, and probably transform them also. So don't worry. Continue to do this, whereby a day will come when everybody will have its realization. And then suddenly Swami may definitely transform them, ward off the evils. Okay? Sairam.
Sairam, sir.
Okay, sir. Sir, there is a question in the chat from the Tamil Nadu person, brother, that is Sai Prakash. His question goes like this: what prompts you to keep doing seva? There are instances where we become content about the little seva that we do and wait for the opportunity instead of being self-driven. What is the one thing that keep you prompting to be associated with the service activities?
No, can you please? I'm not able to see that. Where?
Sir,
in chart.
He directly sent me. Let me send to you.
Oh, Sairam brother, maybe I can ask directly. I didn't know if I'll get opportunity, so I sent a chat.
Okay,
so
sure.
if I may.
Yeah, sure. Please be on the camera also. It would
Spotlight.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sir. The question is, what prompts you to keep doing seva? Like, there are so many instances where we become so content about the little seva that we do. I do a Narayana seva today and I become content, and I'll wait for the next Narayana seva or next Parthi seva instead of being self-driven. So to you, what is that one thing that prompts you to keep doing seva or service activities? Sairam sir.
How does your heart beat continuously, relentlessly, 72 times a minute?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a sympathomimetic action, right? Once you believe in something, once you get yourself indoctrinated with something, once you have an enormous faith in what you think or what you talk or what you act upon, that goes into your system. Seva, finally, once you get acquainted with seva, when you taste the bliss of seva, automatically nothing else comes in the way. You don't have to even tapasi. You don't have to even chant the name of Lord and chant the thing. right? You need not perform any homa or yaga or yajna also. Automatically, your thought process will go into seva. Do perform some seva. Alleviate hunger, alleviate thirst, give medical support. So this kind of a continuous prompting will be there from your own conscience to you. That makes you conscious of a daily routine gets embellished with seva activity. So we don't get tired. You also don't get tired unless you feel that you have exhausted. There is no exhaustion. There is no exhaustion. If you feel that you are exhausted, just divert your attention from one seva to other seva. Go for Balavikas. That is also a seva. You got my point?
Sure, sir. Absolutely. I'll keep that in mind and I'll try my best. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So there would be last question we would be taking for this session, and the rest of the questions we would be sending you. And I request you to please, attend to them, and we will get back to the candidates for that. So Satyam from the UP, please go ahead.
Satyam, I think, has asked once, no?
Yes, sir. Sairam, sir. Satyam from UP. Sir, my question is, as we know, as we know from childhood, we listen that there are 3 types of seva: tan, man, dhan. Sir, just I want to know which is best.
Which is best? Tan, man, dhan. You answer this question.
No.
For seva, dhan is not really required. It is the willingness and attitude is required, right? Suppose if you are going on the road and there is a small girl who wants to cross the street, there are a lot of vehicles are there. Do you require any money to help her? What you require is your attitude is required. Your attitude to readiness and alertness to do some seva for the people who are needy, right? A small girl, a school girl has to cross the street. For that, you don't require money, right? What it calls for is your willingness to do seva, help her, and your readiness to do that, and maybe few minutes time. So don't worry about money. Dhan, tan, man, dhan. Yes, this is all rhythmic and rhyming. Okay. What it calls for is the mindset.
Yes.
Okay. Re-engineer your mindset. Automatically, everything comes up. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Sairam Varun, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And with this, I would, hand over to the Sister Swati for the further proceedings.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Thank you, Brother Varun. It is my privilege to be offering the vote of thanks on such a blessed evening, offering my pranams and thanks to Swami for connecting us all through his love. On behalf of the entire team of Shri Satya Sai National Leadership Program for Self-Transformation and participants, I take this opportunity to thank you, sir, for this impactful satsang on sadhana to reach inherent divinity and enlightening each one of us who are part of this satsang. I will hold more dear your reiteration that our indweller is Swami and to please Swami, and how you simplified the messages: love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never, even through our thoughts and words. Also, the way you connected the message from our epics and to our daily practices, the ABC of self-audit on our attitude, behavior, character has made it easier to grasp and put us back on our sadhana journey. Thank you, sir, for your time and patience in addressing our participants' queries and exchanging your thoughts. Our heartfelt gratitude to Gopi Uncle for all that he is for us, and without whose tireless efforts and round-the-clock guidance, none of this would have been possible. Kudos and thanks to the entire team of Satsangatvi Nisangatvam for their efforts and dedication. Also to Sister Nandini for that beautiful introduction towards a stronger Sai Seva Sadhana Saga soaked in his love. May I now invite our revered convener of Shri Satya Sai National Leadership Program, Dr. Shri Gopikesha Pedatala, to share his thoughts and words, please. Gopi Uncle.
Saram sir, I'm on the highway driving, so kindly pardon me. I cannot be on the video right now. I'm in pitch darkness. At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Kodeshwara Garu. Very short notice, but a very firm and very, very informative session we have had today. I'm sure, sir, when we have the contact program, which we are planning late September in Prashant Nilayam due to COVID, we will have more interactions in person with you. And there'll be a lot of questions that will be coming up in the next 24 hours. The students will be posting it on the chat box and also on the WhatsApp group. Our team will actually consolidate all these questions and we will send it to you. We request you, Professor, that if you could answer these questions as per your convenience on a video camera and send it to us, it will be a great help. And we will be posting it also on the portal so that the future students who are actually having the same kind of questions in their mind can also listen to the answers. With these few words, well, as you said, sir, the doer is Swami. We're all his humble instruments in taking this forward. We place this program at his divine lotus feet with all our love and our dedication and our love to Swami. We close this session with a round of applause to Sri Kodeshwara Garu. May I request all the participants to unmute and applaud for this wonderful session, please. We will end this session with Shanti Mantra.
समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति